We're getting into the Halloween spirit on this episode as we talk about our favorite spooky movies. But that doesn't compare to the spookiest thing of all, taking too long on your turn during a board game. We're going to judge somebody for just that. Stay tuned for our verdicts. What you are listening to is real. The parties involved are not cool. They are actual geeks with a case pending in the court of public opinion. The party's case has been dismissed, and the dispute will be settled here on our podcast. There will be no lawyers. There will be no witness testimony. The judge's decisions are final.
Hello, I'm Judge Ivan.
I'm Judge Jonathan, and this is Geeks on Trial. Today's case, The Waiting Game.
Hello and welcome to Geeks on Trial. This is the podcast where we settle petty disputes between actual geeks over movies, video games, board games, and more. If you'd like to submit your own geeky case for a future episode, you can email us at geeksontrial@gmail.com. And if you'd like to help support the show, you can head on over to patreon.com/geeksontrial. You know, it is a spooky season here in I think we have ghosts or an insane man. Oh no.
No, I've been Joker-fied.
Which Joker? The Lady Gaga Joker?
Yes, I'm the Lady Gaga Joker.
Lady Gaga Joker?
Batman! I've lost my mind completely.
Oh. Well, what's that have to do with you being Joker-fied?
I'm gonna go rob some banks and shoot some people and tell jokes while I'm doing it. Like I'll say, ooh, that's what I call funny money.
I will give you this $1 right here if you just don't.
Do you think it's possible? Matt Reeves, the director of the Batman, might be watching this, and maybe he might decide to cast me as the Joker.
Yeah, no, you have Joker face. Joker face.
Batman. It's a new take on the character.
You didn't hear my joke though. You were too loud.
You said I have a face like the Joker. What was the joke?
Joker face. Joker face.
Okay, but you didn't say Did you?
I started to. I just gave up on it because you got loud.
So it's not my fault.
I mean, it usually is because you have that Joker face. Joker face.
You know, that Halloween comes from card games. Oh yeah, Halloween. I'm going to be the Joker for Halloween this year. What about you?
I was also going to be the Joker, so I guess I have to now choose something else.
Well, no. Which era were you going to be? Which version?
I was gonna combine them all, really, starting from back in the 60s. What was the 60s?
Sure.
Original
yeah,
show?
I'm specifically being a Lady Gaga Joker.
Okay. Do you get to slice your face open for that one?
No. I'm just gonna wear like a red dress and sing quietly.
What if you do a meat dress? It'll be red. It's raw meat.
Yes. Now you're thinking like the Joker, my boy.
Oh, ha. That's my Joker.
Here's something that I feel like we have probably talked about before, but we're going to talk about it again because you know what? That's just the deal, people.
It's Halloween. We're just.
There's nothing else to talk about, so we're going to talk about maybe some of our favorite spooky movies that we like to watch during the Halloween months, or maybe we could even take it a step up a notch before we get to our case today. Maybe we talk about like our top 5, or you might say your top 4, maybe your Mount Rushmore of scary movies or horror movies.
Scary movies or Halloween movies? Because that's a different thing.
Is it a different thing?
Because I wouldn't say like Hocus Pocus isn't a scary movie, but it's a Halloween movie.
Okay, so I think all scary movies are Halloween movies, but maybe not all Halloween movies are scary movies.
Right. Like Halloween Town. I don't know if you ever saw that. It's a Disney original movie. Not a scary movie, per se.
Yeah. But then again, I mean, you know, some would say Requiem for a Dream is quite frightening. Right. Probably, maybe you don't want to watch that after trick-or-treating.
I do. I watch it during.
Maybe you do.
So what are do we want to go back and forth? Do we just want to say our 4?
Do we want to go back and forth? I don't know. I mean, I feel like I have some ready to rattle right off the top of my head.
Then why don't you go first, Joker?
But are they actually? It is a difference if you're talking about like the scariest versus my favorite, because those are two different things. But there is overlap.
Well, are scary movies your favorite movies, or vice versa?
No, I wouldn't say they're my favorite movies. I do love horror movies, but I wouldn't say that my top 5 movies are horror movies.
So let's just say, I thought we were doing top 4. Let's just say our top the ones we go back to
numbers.
Every Halloween. Like if you've multiple times it over your life because it's the month of October and it's Halloween, let's say that's.
Because I also don't know if I do that as much as I do Christmas, for example, the Christmas movies.
I've kind of given up on the Christmas stuff, movies wise.
Well, we can't. It's not the season for that, so I don't want to go too far down that track, please.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Well, if you go into a store, Christmas was out. Like Christmas is over now. The 4th of July is.
I've been buying stuff for next Christmas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Halloween movies that I like watch over and over. I mean, Nightmare Before Christmas, I suppose, is one that I've watched more times in my life, particularly because it's one I watched a lot from since I was a kid.
Oh, it's a Christmas movie.
Please. Please. So in terms of like rewatches, that's probably a big one. Because I feel like the ones that I would rewatch that are Halloween movies, I do think are more like the silly or funny ones.
Right.
And less like the outright, this is going to scare the shit out of you.
Right.
Because Halloween, I want to have fun. I'm eating candy. I want to like get a little spooked, but not terrified necessarily.
Right. And it's funny too, because a lot of the most scary movies come out during the summer and not the Halloween season. So
sometimes they'll always save a couple for October, but
so rattle down your list of 4.
Horrors year round.
Rushmore.
I mean, the ones that pop in my head, I'm thinking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I'm thinking about scariest, to be honest with you. The Exorcist.
Okay.
The Thing.
Which one?
Now I don't know if that because I don't know which one.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's The Thing is scary, but I don't know if it's really a Halloween-y movie to me.
Like I don't know if I would watch that during Halloween. That's not my
You could though. You could. It's allowed.
Yeah.
Evil Dead 2 is my favorite of the Evil Dead movies. The Shining is certainly up there. A lot of these are scary movies. I don't know how many of them necessarily evoke Halloween, though.
Okay. So for me, like, I want to say, like, we're always a Hocus Pocus, and then we'll usually only watch that Hocus Pocus 1, because now we have to make a generalization for that. It's specific. It's Hocus Pocus, the first one. We usually only watch that during the Halloween season or October, unless it's like, randomly on like a TBS or something somewhere. But like, usually we stick to that during Halloween. The movie Halloween 3.
Specifically Halloween 3, the Season of the Witch.
The Season of the Witch, which is more so of yes, they all take place during Halloween, but that's more of a Halloween themed movie and less of the hacker slasher movie. What else?
I'm more about Halloween Kills. The second of the new trilogy. That's the one I really watch a lot.
Do you?
No.
How many times have you watched it?
One time.
It's too many.
One was enough.
You watched it too. Friday the 13th, but we also I watch Friday the 13th probably like 5 times a year. If I'm going to be completely honest with you.
You love murder and chopping.
Usually on Friday the 13th, we watch Friday the 13th. It's just fun. So if it lines up with Halloween, that's a double bonus. We'll watch it twice that day. There's a bunch of we'll do the Chucky movies sometimes. The original, they're not called Child's Play movies, because once they start turning into Chucky movies, they're not good. Trying to think, what is our other go-to that we'll do? We'll do Dracula or the Universal horror movies as a Frankenstein, Dracula, those kind of things. Nosferatu, I don't know if that really counts as a Universal one, but yeah, that is my our go-to Halloween movies. But usually, so every Halloween we'll probably, or every October we'll pick a new franchise to kind of tackle. So one year we did all the Freddy movies, we did all the Halloween movies, we did all the Friday the 13th movies.
That's fun.
Last year, for the first time, we did Hellraiser. That was the first time I basically got. This year, we're probably going to tackle the Saw movies.
Oh, I've done that.
Yep. It's going to be a roller coaster of adventure. I'm just going to say that. I know.
When you say roller coaster, it's like a roller coaster, but it only goes down.
Well, yeah. Well, that's yeah. You start, it goes tick tick tick, and then right down.
Or it only goes up because it's the boring part, and then you just go all the way up to the top. It's just an elevator ride, basically.
So I've seen I think I've seen the first. I've definitely seen the first one and maybe the second one, but
I love the Saw franchise. 90% of them are very, very terrible movies.
well, but that's the other thing too about Halloween movies. Like, okay, fine, I love Friday the 13th, the first one. The rest are terrible. Same thing with like a lot of the Halloween movie, like the franchise Halloween, Michael Myers. First couple are great, then they're just repeat themselves. So a lot of those typical Halloween movies that aren't necessarily like The Shinings, the horror, like they're not the greatest movies in the world, but they're fun. You know, get the popcorn out, get the candy corn out, and have those movies on while you're handing out
no candy corn.
Halloween
for me.
candy. Not a candy corn.
No popcorn for me either. Really, I don't want. Give me candy. Just give me a Snickers bar. That's what I want. Let me tell you, because I have a plan to do a similar thing this month. Which with a franchise that I've been meaning to watch through for a while now. I was going to do all the Final Destination movies. I haven't seen any of those.
How? You haven't seen any of them?
No, I've never seen any of them.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. No, that first one I feel like it's such like an our generation.
The ones you've said, I haven't seen a Hellraiser. I haven't seen a Child's Play. I haven't seen. You said another one that I haven't seen. I can't even remember, but
the Freddy movies.
No, I've seen the first Freddy movie, but I haven't watched any of the other ones.
Well, there's about 4,000 more after that.
I've never done any of the other Halloweens or Friday the 13th either. I've only done the first ones. I'd like to do a Freddy-thon. I think that would be fun.
They get old after a while, I would say, because it's kind of the same thing, but they also get kind of creepy, like as in like not okay for like watching.
Scream is a good one. That's a fun
Scream. I think we did a couple years ago.
Another one that I gotta always mention is the movie called Trick or Treat.
I like those
with an R apostrophe R.
Are there
only
two?
one. There's only
sure?
one.
I thought unless there was supposed to be.
You might be thinking of maybe they're gonna make a second one, or unless you're thinking of a different Trick or Treat. This is the one with like the little. It's like an anthology movie, and there's a little guy with a pumpkin head.
I could be combining different anthology movies.
Could be. Well, there's also VHS. You ever watch those?
Yes,
we've watched. New one
I think we watched one of them together. So
maybe. I mean, probably like 15 years ago.
Right.
But
there's a couple, right?
Oh, there's like 6 of them.
Yeah. Okay.
And some of them I don't really care for, but they're always interesting to see because they're different.
And then there's always like, you go down that rabbit hole of the really, really bad horror movies, like the ones that are made for Sci-Fi Channel. And we'll dive down some of those, like Murder Bed or Chopping Mall or, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Those kind of movies. Those are always fun to put on like night of Halloween when you're doing other things and you just have something bad on in the background. Those movies that are kind of on that Shudder streaming service.
Shudder has some good original stuff sometimes.
They do, but they're also home to like a lot of those movies that no one else wants.
There's been some really good horror movies this year. I would recommend Oddity. Is a fun one. If you haven't seen that, it's kind of like it's got very spooky vibes. What else has been good this year in horror? There's been a lot. Was it
Cuckoo?
I enjoyed Cuckoo. Cuckoo was fun. There's Strange Darling. There's In a Violent Nature.
Now, what movies don't you count?
Longlegs.
For Halloween movies, because like the ABC channel or one of those channels is like the 13 Nights of Halloween, which is they do the entire month now, and they'll do like the Harry Potter movies, and I'm like, they're pushing it because yes, they are wizards and witches.
Yeah, they're also Christmas movies,
right?
Yeah, I'm okay with Harry Potter and Halloween because
or they'll throw like Edward Scissorhand in there.
Yeah, I get it.
Or any Tim Burton.
It's borderline. It's allowable. It's not the main course, but if you got to fill out your content, it's not like it's not crazy to be watching it on Halloween.
Well, it's like even Halloween music. When you walk into a Halloween store and they're like playing music where you're like, this is not Halloween music. This is
It's just got scary. They say something about a witch in it, so it's a Halloween song.
Love potion number 9, like that. That stuff like that.
There's only so many songs people will like that are related to ghosts and goblins specifically.
And let me tell you, I used to work for Party City mainly during the Halloween seasons, and a lot of those songs I just hate outright now because when a store like that only has 2 CDs, they play them and they play them loud and on repeat. Yeah.
Yeah. The Monster Mash, it's classic.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're fun. I like to hear them all the time.
All the time?
Yeah.
I like them. I like them better than Christmas songs. I'll tell you that much.
I like them both. I like them.
Mm.
I like them both. I like them both.
So yeah, so you're gonna do what franchise?
That's
the
why I
Final
like Nightmare Before
Destination.
Christmas. It's the
That's
mashup.
true.
Yeah, Final Destination. That's what I was thinking. I do want to do a Child's Play one too. That's the other one. That's
But
on my
I feel
list.
like Child's Play. There's a lot of like very specific stopping points to where you shouldn't go any further.
I
so,
don't know.
like-
I like the idea from what I've heard that they kind of get like sillier and weirder and campier as they go, and I kind of like that. I'm kind of excited about it.
Don't like Jennifer Tilly at all. So, and she's
come
a
on.
big thing for those.
Well, you're not a
next
You're a
movies.
liar hater, so that's why you don't like
It's true.
her.
It's true. And Family Guy. She's the voice of Joe's wife, I think, or at one point
so
she was.
that's a really memorable
Yeah.
part on that show. For everyone knows her. For that.
But I think the first two or the first three Child's Play movies, good movies, pretty impressive.
There's a TV
films
show
for-
too. I
There
like
is.
when there's a spin-off when you can do, multiple mediums for your marathon.
And you can watch the new the new movie that came out.
Right, the remake, yeah,
Yeah,
or a
which-
reboot,
Reboot, whatever.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't
Wasn't
know.
terrible, but not bad at all. And yeah,
Isn't Aubrey Plaza in it?
yep. And
There you
Mark Hamill, I think,
Oh
is
yeah,
Chucky.
the voice of Chuck.
Chuck. How many Final Destination movies were there? Because
I believe there were 5, and from what
There were
I've heard, I don't
There's a
know.
new one.
It sounds like they're working on a 6, which is part of the reason I want to watch. And I've heard some of them are really good. So
it's going to be interesting you watching them because you're a little bit more squeamish than I am with certain things. And
come on.
And some of
I
these
don't think that's
movies they'll be interesting for you. You'll have a different look at the world after watching the first one at least.
Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah. Well, Halloween's it's the time. It's the fun time to watch all those spooky things. How exciting for all of us.
It's true.
Let's talk about today's case, shall we?
You think there's a movie where judges attack people with their gavels? I'm sure that's a good like 80s hack slash movie.
We could do it in real life.
That's-
Maybe
we
they
have
make
to
like
do.
a straight to TV true crime movie about us.
True.
We got a case to settle today, folks. We can't talk about spooky movies and candy the whole show. That would be a frivolous waste of
Aw.
everyone's time, especially yours. Today's case comes to us from the internet. You can find a link in our episode description. Our defendant today is Bruno. Yes, we are going to talk about him. Bruno plays board games, and Bruno has a board game problem. He was recently playing games at a public gaming event, and another player at said event, Corey, was taking a particularly long time on each one of his turns during the game. According to Bruno, it was between 7 and 10 minutes per turn. About halfway through the game, which is still over the 2-hour mark, Bruno says he needs to leave, and Corey complains that he shouldn't be quitting a game before it's finished. Now Bruno is wondering, when is enough enough? And when is it okay to call players out for taking too dang long? As dual judges here on Geeks on Trial, it's our job to determine whether Bruno's go-go was a no-no or if Corey's story was sorry.
Oh, it's a Canadian story?
He's like, yeah, this takes place in
I don't-
Canada.
I don't know. Our law degrees, our gavels are American made. I don't
Oh.
think this crosses.
I
didn't-
have an international judge's degree.
Oh, I
License, I mean.
I have to upgrade that.
Yeah. Well, for now, I can kind of, you can
Okay.
come in under
Can
my
I just-
wing.
Ads give you $1 and it just works. It's a Canadian dollar. Just
Why
don't look
do
at it too hard.
You just have a
This
dollar on
is
your
a dollar
desk.
on my desk. I don't know. I don't use money, so
Don't
it's
you
just
have
like,
a wallet or something to put that in?
That's for my credit cards and movie stubs. What do you want me to do?
I not wave your nasty, filthy stripper dollar at me. That's what I
Oh,
want you to do.
that's all I made? I danced for hours.
Well, you must have been doing something wrong.
Well, they
gave
gave me-
change though.
They give me quarters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Canadian
Pelted 'em.
dollars,
Pelted them at me. It hurt.
coins.
Yeah. A
Catch
loony?
them in your teeth. Ooh, I'd love a loony.
A loony.
I'd love me a loony. You ever go up north north of the border?
Nope, I've never left the country.
Yeah, you're such a freaking loser.
I've never
All
left
right.
this room.
Yeah, well, I don't allow you to.
Right.
That's a strict policy that I
Yeah,
have.
you have the key.
Look, we got to talk about this case. We're back on board games. Now, a while ago, we was looking through our old cases because you know how judges for legal issues, you look at, what do they call it? Precedent. See if
Right.
there's precedent.
Right.
And it was it was a long time ago we had a case that had to do with someone ending a board game early.
Right.
So we may have covered some of these subjects in passing. But this is specifically about taking too long on your turn. There's a term for that, of course, in the board game community. Ivan, you know it.
Mm-hmm. Taking too damn long.
It's a 2-word little phrase that rhymes. The 2 words rhyme with each other.
Analysis paralysis.
Hey, see, I knew you'd get there. How about that? That was a fun little game we played.
I think taking too damn long is probably the best. Or as we call it at our game night, we had to get the timer out.
As we call it in our game night, that's every game night.
Yeah, time
That's
for the
how
timer.
the game nights go.
Don't make me get the timer.
Yeah, so this is maybe for anyone who's not a real heavy board gamer, but even if you've played like Monopoly or Catan.
I think it's worse in those games, but go on.
Well, it really depends on the players, depends on the group. It could be, could not be. There's certainly games.
It even might depend on the game.
Yes. There's a lot of factors that it depends on.
What other factors?
That's what we're trying to say. Well, factor of 5.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think everyone can probably relate to this a little bit, whether they are the person taking a long time or another person waiting for someone else to take a long time. What do you think? It's because I find it's hard to judge yourself in this instance.
Then we shouldn't be doing this. If we can't judge ourselves, then how are we going to judge anyone else?
You're right. But still, it's hard for me to say, because of course I'd like to say, well, I don't take too long on my turns in a board game.
I've heard you're very quick.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure, I know for a fact that I have been guilty of it at times. I know that there have been times when I take too long in a turn.
You take way too long sometimes. It's
Thanks
fine.
for
It's
agreeing
good.
with you're so far. You're really backing me up.
Okay, go on.
And usually I'm aware of it, and usually I'm like, oh, I know I'm taking too long. I can feel it. I can feel people being bored
because we all kind of stare at you.
Mm-hmm. People are like,
we throw things.
They're just kicking me in the chest.
Yeah.
Take your turn. Take your turn.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you are particularly fast or slow or right in perfect length?
I honestly,
What's your length like?
My length is good.
Too long?
But very thin. That's what I call it. I call it my pencil. Anyway, so it's yellow.
That's like
it's
a
pointy.
tapeworm.
Yeah. It's not healthy. Little rubber point at the end.
You ever put that thing in a sharpener?
Daily, so I could write with it. Anyway, so yeah, I do feel like I'm taking too long most of the time when I'm playing games, but I think that's also a lot of times too, like, you get in your head about it when especially when it's a game that other people at the table have played multiple times and you might not have played as many times. Or, in sometimes in my case, people will meet for game nights every week. We'll take gaps in between and we have to get back into the groove of it. Usually not that difficult, but there's sometimes where I feel like I am taking a long time. But I think it's mental on my case. But there will be time. There are some games that we all equally take a long time because it's like, okay, we've played this before. We think we know the rules, and it's like, we haven't played this in like 6 years. We have to re-break out the rule book, and we're all kind of taking a long time.
Yeah, well, that's one. There's a few different reasons a turn might take a long time.
Mm-hmm.
One is, as you said, if you are just learning how to play or trying to remember how to play.
Right.
And then it's more about trying to understand what you can even do.
Right.
Oh, I just had
no.
indigestion.
Oh.
The other one, I ate a whole bucket of candy corn before the show.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why I told you I don't want any more.
You're done. Your candy. Anyway.
It was mixed with popcorn. People do that.
I'm sure.
The other reason, I think
Freaks.
the other primary reason, maybe there's more than one. I guess one could be if you're not paying attention.
Right.
Then you're like, you have to reassess the board state every time it's your turn. Or even in some games where things change so frequently.
Right.
That you're not able to plan ahead as well. But the other big one is, I think, it's the real root of most analysis paralysis that people discuss in board game circles is desire to be optimal in your plays.
Right.
That the worst thing you can imagine is to do something on your turn that's not 100% the best move you can make right now at this point in time.
Right.
So you have to, in your head, look around and calculate every possible thing. Well, if I do this, this will happen. If I do that, that'll happen. That player's over there. This player's over there. And by the time you've thought it all through and you finally could commit to something, it maybe has been a long time.
Well, and then I think about this too. There's two different or a few different types of gamers where I like to watch what other people are doing. I get enjoyment out of watching people.
I get that.
You
like to watch.
Yeah. No, but like there'll be times where it's like, yes, during my turn, during somebody else's turn, I should or could be planning my turn and kind of ignoring everything else at the table. Or I could be enjoying the entire thing as a whole and like watching, like I enjoy, to me, like the whole game and everyone's turn and the story and all that is like a big part of board gaming for me. So it's like, I like, okay, so you did this, he did this. Oh, what did you do?
She.
Like, and like, you know, that's why like in some games, I hate it when like a person will be like, this, done. It's like, okay, tell me what you did. I like to know.
That we did have a case about.
that. But like, I also like, because it's like, I like to know what's going on so I can plan my turn, but also so I can like enjoy what's going on. Like, it's not like a race to the finish.
Yeah, you kind of have to do, usually you kind of have to do, but it depends on the game, but in like your average competitive game, you have to watch what other people are doing because that informs what you're going to do on your turn as well.
Right.
Unless you're playing, there are some games like a Wingspan or I don't know, like Azul or some of these games where you kind of just have your own personal play area and what other people are doing doesn't really affect you.
Right.
Then you maybe can be planning your turn, but usually there's still something. There's always, almost all games, there's usually something that will happen before your next turn that could affect your decisions.
Well, I would say most of the time, like, yeah.
If there isn't, it might be a bad game.
Right.
Right.
Like the second your turn ends, you can't like be like, okay, I'm going to do this next turn because like there's, let's say 6 other people till your next turn. That's like, I've personally chose not to do that because like I hate, okay, I'll plan this entire thing. And then it gets to me, it's like, oh shit, I can't do that. What did I just waste my time doing? And then, you know, then you're like wasting everyone's time.
You have to rethink it anyway.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes you can't, like sometimes there are games where it's like, maybe you have a limited selection of actions and it's just obvious like, oh, well, my plan is to go here and do this. So sometimes you do like, well, I know my next 3 turns, but then someone will do something that you don't know it anymore. And that could cause you to take a long turn if you have to now just completely rethink your strategy based on that. But there certainly is a limit. And I think a lot of it comes down to the optimization thing, which I think I'm guilty of. And I do feel this pressure. Actually, I also want to say, going back even further to what you were talking about, that you get in your head and feel like you're taking a long time because of maybe you don't know the rules as well or something. I will say, for the record, of all of our game group, I don't think of you as being someone who takes a long turn. If anything, I would say you're on the shorter end. So take that as you will.
Well, because that could also be bad too. It's because it's like, okay, then am I not doing enough on my turn? But if you look at like the 50, like I've won enough games, I've lost enough games. So it's not like that's an issue either.
I have really come to a point where I have and which is not to say that I always personally stick to this philosophy, do as I say, not as I do. But I at least try to keep it in my mind that I would rather play a game too fast and lose and then get to play another game.
Right.
Than play a game really well and win, but that's all the time you have for the night.
Right. Me personally, like I like let's say we have our weekly whatever game night. We have 5 hours. let's say we have a 5-hour game night. I would rather fit as many games into that are enjoyable than play one 5-hour game, which I know for some people, that's a big, like they like playing the exact same game every week, every hour, and that's their game night. We're also a little spoiled because between the group of us, we have a lot of board games that we can like cycle through, good or bad. So that could be an issue too. But you're right. I would rather, because I think you're a lot like me. You enjoy the entire story, the theming, everything about a board game, and like just going through the mechanics isn't your thing.
If what you're saying is like, yes, I certainly, I prefer games that have a strong theme as opposed to the more dry Euro style or, although there are exceptions and I can still enjoy those games. I tend to like games that are thematic and
so like you also like kind of like me, like you like watching other people's turns and stuff.
If they're
because like you get to see, well, that's
There's so many things popping up that I'm forgetting the things I wanted to say.
But we did mention the case does say this was a Euro game.
Right. They say it was a medium weight Euro game.
Right.
And that's something also to point out is that like some games, like you say a 5-hour game or whatever, some games are long regardless of analysis paralysis.
Right.
Like you look at an example we use a lot, Battlestar Galactica or Arkham Horror. There's some games that just are long. Right. And that's the game. And then there are games that are supposed to be like an hour or two and end up being 3 or 4 hours because of the group.
Well, I'm always curious too, because our group does take, I think, a little bit longer than some groups.
We take a long time.
I would love to see like if there's like a graph of like, okay, this game said it's supposed to be 45 minutes. We took an hour and a half. Is there like a ranking somewhere to be like, what's the median of this game?
Well, on Board Game Geek, the website, they do have players will submit how much time they say it takes on average.
Or it took for them. So you could see roughly, okay.
So they do have those resources online. I think a lot of board game groups have these issues with analysis paralysis. There's also, so as we've said, you don't want to take too long and you don't need to have the most optimal turn, but also on the other hand, there is also going too fast because I don't think it's as fun to play with people who aren't thinking about it at all. You don't want to play with
being a human calculator, basically, like just like,
or just going like, oh, I go here and here. And you're like, why'd you do that? That wasn't a good move. And they're like, I don't know. I just wanted to go there.
It's my turn. Right.
I just had to go there. I don't know. You've done that sometimes.
Yeah.
Folks, he nodded.
Yes, I did. Oh, because but it depends on the games too, because like sometimes there'll be a game where it's like, we're going around the table. This is like the 4th hour of the game. And it's like, okay, I'm doing this. I'm collecting my dice. Like that's why I feel like that comes up more often, but we've all played with the gamer who is like, don't worry about my turn. I'm taking my turn. Worry about your stuff. And it's kind of like that takes some of the fun, like, I forget what, like, not min-maxing, but like, not alpha gamers, but there's a term for it where it's like someone who's just like, I'm doing my thing. Don't worry about it. Let's move on. Where it's like, that's just problematic to me.
Min-maxing and alpha gamers are both terms.
Right.
I'm not locked in totally to which or what you're
just
alluding to, but yes, everyone should, I don't know, do whatever you said they shouldn't do. Yeah, it's tricky. It's a tricky thing. It's a tricky thing. You don't want to take too long. We have tried in the past doing timers. Right.
Well, that also depends on the game too, because I feel like we'll pull out a timer when it's like something like a kind of pseudo party game or like a drawing game or something like where it's like,
well, sure, that's a different thing
where it's like people might like there's different groups of like, they're not purposely taking too long, but it's like, well, I want to make sure this looks correct so somebody guesses this properly. It's like, okay, yeah, but this is meant to be a off the fly, like a spur of the moment game, like hurry up, like that's the point of it. Now, have you ever quit a game because of something like this, or in general, have you ever like, I'm not playing this game anymore, I'm done? Have you ever walked off the set? In
this scenario, Bruno is playing in a public place, so it's not like game night at his house. It's like a board game store or maybe a convention. He doesn't specify. Where the game is only supposed to last a couple hours, and the guy's just taking so long that it's stretching it out twice as much as it's supposed to be. So in that kind of a scenario, it's a little more understandable.
Right.
I don't think that I rarely, if ever, like I played at conventions, but usually just demos. I haven't done too many like full games at convention.
Oh yeah, we've done, yeah.
So usually I'm in a home of like someone I know or my own home, where I don't like to quit a game before it's finished. This is also part of my personality, the same way that I like to eat all the food on my plate.
Right.
Or I like to, not always, but I'll try to 100% a video game. Like I like to finish things. I like things to be complete.
You won't walk out of a bad movie in a theater. Like you're not
yeah, no. I will watch that movie. I will finish that candy bar, even if it sucks. I will eat the whole bar. I didn't finish that Oreo Coke though.
That's what I was going to ask you. Is it still sitting in your fridge?
That's the only one that's the first time it broke me.
Wow. It's the first time you've never not finished. Good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't like to do it because, especially with a board game when other people are involved, it feels bad to cut that short.
But it's also like in a board game when there's a group of people or there's multiple people, you ending a game out of, personal whatever, it ends the game for everyone. So it's kind of like a douchey move to be like, I'm done. Well, we can't finish the game without it. That sucks. Figure it out yourself. Right. It's like you're ruining everyone else's time there. And sure, other people might be upset that said person is taking too long. But if it's not bothering them and they're still getting enjoyment, if it still sparks joy, then they're still enjoying game.
Yeah, he doesn't mention how... I don't think he specifically says in the case file how the other players feel about it. Just that Corey is mad, and he wants to leave. He says the other two players understood.
So this is a 4-player game. We're assuming this is 4 people.
Yeah, 4 people.
Bruno, Corey, and 2 unnamed people. But like, are they also like okay in the grand scheme of things? Because Bruno's the one complaining, or Bruno was the one.
Yeah.
So is Bruno going too fast? Is Corey going too long? Like, are the other people...
Well, here's the thing. If we are to take his word as valid, as official, yes, that's the one. I don't like to talk about gospels and stuff. I don't want to go to hell.
Why? Oh.
He says...
You're in it right now.
He says, again, most players in this game... should take 30 to 90 seconds per turn. And this guy's taking 7 to 10 minutes. Now, I will say, in any game, honestly, unless you're with few exceptions, like Twilight Imperium or Diplomacy, like these games that are literally games that take hours and hours. Yeah. Even a Battlestar Galactica.
Right.
Is there a turn that takes longer than, like, maybe for that 7 to 10 minutes might be about right for that game, but that's like also a game where you're discussing it with the group every round, and
7 to 10 minutes might be if it's a hidden role game and you're the hidden role, maybe, or like that initial turn when you come out as a Cylon and it's like okay, I need time, like those initial things, maybe, but like you're right, 7 plus minutes seems like a long time.
Think about how long like 5 minutes is. 3 minutes is like the average length of a pop song on the radio.
Right.
So think about listening to 4 songs, like half of an album.
Right.
Before someone's turn is over, or a third or more of a half-hour episode of television.
Or like 1,000 vines. Like,
that is a long, like even 5 minutes to me, like the average length that and the thing is, it's hard because I'm not actually sitting there and timing people's turns during board game nights.
Well,
so I could be saying this and it turns out that
we all take 7 minutes.
Maybe we all do, but I feel like going over 3 minutes per turn, because think about how many turns are probably in an average game.
Right.
Again, this varies wildly game to game, but maybe if you're playing with 4 players, maybe each player has like 15 turns per game. Do some math. It's a lot of minutes.
Well, let's just say 10 because it's a good even number. That's 70.
That's a nice one.
That's 70 minutes per person.
Even let's talk about 5. Even if we're saying a 5-minute turn, that's almost a 4-hour game.
Yeah.
Like most games, most turns really are 1 to 2 minutes, unless it's a real heavy, thinky game. So
and if it was a real heavy, thinky game, everyone would be taking these turns.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I could see if everyone was taking between 5 and 7 minutes or whatever the time was, and he was taking short and getting annoyed. That's a him thing. But then I also want to know,
or he's playing the wrong game. Yeah.
What is Corey doing?
Right.
Like, is he taking his turn, or is he like, oh, it's my turn. Let me do this. Check a tweet. Do this. Go get a cup of water. Like, is Corey taking a strategic beginning to end, no complications, no interruptions, no conversating, just I'm taking my turn. It's 7 to 10 minutes. Because if that's the case, you might need to check on Corey. Like, what's going on?
I think he is. I think my assumption is that the majority of his turn is thinking. So it's not necessarily, he's not like moving a piece inch by inch real slow.
He's just like overly pondering.
He's sitting there staring at the board for a long time. Yes, contemplating what he's going to do.
Now, we have played with people like this before.
I play with them on a weekly basis.
But like, I feel like that I don't think we've ever gone that crazy long.
No, I mean, 7 minutes is a long time. However, I will say, again, because I'm not actually breaking out a timer.
Right.
I do think 7 minutes.
I think secretly, next game
I wish
night,
I did. Yeah, I should.
You should.
Well, there are apps, which the problem is, so there's apps that I like. There's one that's like, when it's your turn, you press a button, and it's not a timer, but at the end of the game, it just shows you who had the longest turns.
But
which I really like. The problem is, it does feel a little. First of all, it's just kind of annoying to break that out and make people do it, but also it feels a little like you're kind of being a dick.
You're kind of being a dick, and it's also like then you're getting into your head as a player, being like, "Oh, am I taking too long?"
But that's kind of good. That's kind of the point, though. That's kind of what you want, a little bit. You want people to have a little bit of that somewhere, because otherwise they feel like they can take forever.
Right.
I think sometimes, especially now with cell phones, people could be taking turns that are 4 or 5 minutes long, and you don't notice. You're like, boy, it feels. But sometimes it'll hit me like 3 hours into a game. I'm going, you know what? Something's wrong here. I think everyone's taking turns that are too long.
Now that happens more so. I think more so the cell phone sitting at the table and table talk and all that happens more when you're at a personal residence rather than you're at a public place playing a game, because we're also assuming these 4 people know each other.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not assuming that. They don't know Corey. He does not know Corey. Maybe he knows him like casually from the game store, but they're not like buds or anything.
Okay, so I'm assuming then at this point that there's probably no cell phones on the table. There's probably not a ton of table talk, because usually when people go to a place to play games, they're like, they want to be out of the home, no distractions. We're playing this game. We're doing this, potentially spending money on a table to rent, because some of these places you do rent a table.
Yeah, I think, and you also just want to be kind of on your best behavior. Like, you're not as comfortable. Like, if you know the people well, then they know, oh, you're on your phone or you're chatting or whatever. But if you're with strangers, at least personally, I'm more like, I want to make a good impression. I want to be paying attention. I don't want
You want to be invited back too. You know, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking this is probably just a pure gaming session, and Corey's taking this long. I also, they're all the same. I think, did we get ages?
I don't know if we got ages on this one. I don't know.
Because I'm wondering too, like I can see like Bruno being like 20, Corey being 50.
Maybe.
You know
he doesn't
saying?
mention
like,
any age discrepancies, but I mean, I think it attracts all ages, the analysis paralysis.
No, it definitely does, but I don't know. I just get that like vibe in my head. But what we're trying to boil down is if it's rude that Bruno quit the game.
Yeah, I mean, at what point
And
do you call someone out for this is the question I have. Like,
I think I would call them out before ruining the game, but I would do it in a, like, hey, maybe make something up. I got somewhere to be this, or like bring
well, he
up,
might actually have somewhere to be.
well, yeah, or look at the box in the game and be like, oh, this is only supposed to take 45 minutes.
I mean, that I frequently do that at our game nights. Is I'll go,
Yeah.
hey, by the way, 2 hours. It's been 5. So just so
But
you guys know.
would you do that with strangers? No.
No, I would not do that with strangers. Unless they were like seemed like a really, if they
Oh, you
seemed
can
like a
kinda,
nice
yeah.
group, I might joke a little bit
Right.
and say like, oh, my group does, because our group does this literally all the time. It is
Yeah.
another issue, as you said, is often when you're playing a game for the first time, it's much more likely you're going to take longer because you're learning the structure and the
Right.
rules.
And I kind of feel like you can throw that, like, first time game with this, you can kind of throw
Almost
that
doesn't
out.
count. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. But it
Or
still
relearning
is,
or whatever. But there's problems. Like,
I do, like I said, it's hard. I don't want to throw stones in a glass house because
Right.
I know I am sometimes guilty of this, but I
Oh,
try,
sure.
I try to, don't agree with that so much, but I try to be
Oh, yeah,
conscious
you
of
do.
it, of, it's just, I'm the type of gamer who I have learned about myself. I'm not very good at long-term strategy. And what I'm better at and what I enjoy more is when I can just a little bit wing it or like pivot or switch up my strategy and like come up with it on the fly. And I'm not as good at seeing the 20 turns ahead. Where do I want to be? Unless I've played the game many times.
I can tell you right now, that's not just how my brain works. I'm more of a yes and improv-y kind of gamer and like not make it up as I go, but like I'm not going to, I don't have the attention span to go 20 things ahead or like, okay, he has $10, he has $5, he has 12 coins. He
Well,
has
yeah.
like, I'm like, that's like too much for me in certain games. And I also get annoyed when people are like doing that in a game as well. So I can see how Corey could be annoyed with this, but I can also see like
mean, Bruno.
if this is, well, no, Corey, like if people were to attack Corey, because Corey's the one taking too long.
Yeah. Yeah.
So people were like, hey, you want to hurry it up? But Corey could also just not know he's taking a long time.
Yeah, maybe he's in a zone. Like has Bruno tried saying like, hey, andale, let's go, buddy.
Because like if he's in deep in thought and thinking about this turn, and as he says, he's thinking and not doing, he might not have any idea that what 7 to 10 minutes is in his brain. You know, like this could be something where he's lost in thought, trying to make the best thing. So bringing it up, I don't think is the worst thing in the world if you do it properly. If you're like, hey, you're taking a little too long over there, you know, they're kind of don't be a douche about it, but be like, hey, this game's supposed to, this game's supposed to take 45 minutes and we've been playing for 2 hours. Or do you need any help? Like or like a passive kind of thing, kind of
Do
like,
you need help, sir?
Are you okay? Do you need me to help you get home?
I'm ready to give a verdict.
Yeah, I'll let you go.
You'll let me go?
I'm gonna need you to hurry it up though. This is an
Okay,
hour
start
show.
a timer now.
Mhm.
Well, here's the thing.
Mhm.
I very much identify more with Bruno than Corey in this situation. I'm frequently annoyed by people in my life.
You could have stopped it there. I'm frequently annoyed.
Frequently annoyed by people who take too long on their turns, and often it is the optimization thing. I find, at least in our group, it is the I want to win. I want to make the best decision that I can. Not even necessarily like, oh, I want to win, but also I'm going to feel stupid if a turn later I go, oh, I missed that thing. I have to see every possible avenue of attack. Otherwise I'll feel dumb and bad and guilty and I'll have lost and it'll blah, 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 blah. It's all this stuff. It's tied up in the wanting to win thing as well. Mostly, I think. And like I said, I've been this way too. Some games are worse for it than others. Some games it's hard not to, especially if there's a ton of options and rules you have to consider and a lot of moving pieces on the board. But at a certain point, you do have to draw a line in the sand and just say, look, there's no such thing as a perfect turn. Just Or if there is, who gives a shit? Just do the
Right.
best you can and move on, or we're going to be here forever and you're not going to have had that much fun by the end of the night. Like, what's your actual goal here?
Right.
Now, could Bruno have done a better job, and maybe he should have brought something up about this instead of just saying I have to go? Probably, but it is like a sort of a stranger, it sounds like, not someone he's a close friend with. So I understand maybe at first he's giving him the benefit of the doubt, and
Right.
it's not until it's too late that he realizes that every turn is going to be this long. So I can't fault him for needing to leave, and I don't approve of analysis paralysis if it can be helped. So to me, Bruno is not guilty.
That verdict was a little too long. I'm sorry.
I know. I tried to wrap it up at the
I'm
end.
leaving game night at this point.
Okay.
So,
See ya.
yeah, I am the same way. I see both sides of this, but just being like, I have to peace out, I have to go, sorry, you guys can't finish the game, sucks, bye, is not, I don't think, the proper way to do this at all. Maybe at the start of it, when you start seeing, maybe by round 2, that Corey is taking these turns that are not getting any shorter as you guys are playing, maybe you should bring up, hey, I have a hard out at whatever time you think the game should be over with. But I do think, like, maybe, you know, there are gamers, there are people who like go too fast, there are, you know, get too much into the calculations of it. I know it's hard for me to make a actual decision because, like you said, we've been on both sides of this. We both have, you know, taken forever. But if you do see that Corey is just kind of like staring at the board and trying to max min, or just try to like, oh, I did this, I don't want to screw up, I need to make the perfect thing, oh, I have to look at this pile, then you might have to bring it up.
7 minutes. Just think about how long 7 minutes is.
No, I know, and that's pretty bad, but also just think about how, like, if you were doing that, if you were that 7 minutes and then Bruno was like, okay, you're taking too long, I gotta go home, like, that's kind of like, it kind of hits you in the, shit.
It might.
So, you know, so I'm giving, what did you said, guilty?
I said he's not guilty. Yeah.
I'm giving him a not guilty, but a soft not guilty.
Okay.
I'm giving him a soft not guilty because he could have people skilled this a little bit more and been like, hey, you know, there's ways to
TikTok, come on,
do
let's go.
this. You know, there's ways to do this. There's ways to be like, hey, let's speed it up a little. So soft, not guilty.
Not guilty with an asterisk.
Mm-hmm.
Does it change anything for you that this is a public meetup versus a private game night with friends? Does it make it better or worse in either scenario?
If I knew these people, like if this was our weekly game night, I'd be like,
you'd just
hurry,
be like, yeah,
up.
yeah, right.
Or I would be like, he's taking forever, I'm gonna go sit on my phone.
My problem is if I try to call people out on it, I'm afraid that I'm guilty of the same thing. So
Right.
I don't want them to call me out for it right back. So that's when I'll try to say, like, hey, let's all just take our turns faster. And then I make a conscious effort. And then I know if they're not doing it and I am, I win. I'm right and they're wrong. Doesn't always work.
No.
So I guess that means we're punishing Corey.
Right.
He took too damn long.
Too damn long.
He took too... Now, look, there's some obvious punishments here that we could hand out. I don't really... I feel like I want to avoid he has to play a game with people that take a long time. That's too basic. Can we come up with something more fun than that?
No.
All right. I guess that's it then.
I think he has to be the person. He has to be the person to be the game calculator. He has to get a job calculating, watching, and planning out those game time numbers on board game boxes. Because, you know, somebody has to do that, and it has to be a boring ass job to track every play. Because that's the only way you can do that, right? If you're a game designer and you say this game takes 45 minutes, that means you timed each and every game.
You know the game Mousetrap?
Yep.
So here's an idea. We set up a life-size version of Mousetrap. Only the final thing is there's a guillotine.
Okay.
And it goes over his neck. Corey's neck is in the guillotine.
Oh.
And 4 other people play, and if they get the Mousetrap to go all the way through, he dies.
So corporal punishment.
Yeah, death penalty.
Okay. Have they not made a movie yet about Mousetrap? I feel like a Mousetrap movie would be spot on for like a Halloween movie. They did,
There's Mouse Hunt.
Oh, yeah, there's Mouse Hunt. That's not the same thing, though.
There's Trap.
Trap?
The M. Night Shyamalan film.
So like a live action Mousetrap movie where you're trapped in it, kind of like a Saw, I guess.
Yeah, well, there's the escape room movies.
But like they kind of made a Battleship game, so why not
a movie? Yeah.
Or a Ouija Aja movie.
Yeah, Mousetrap could be coming. That wave could be coming.
Yeah.
Don't wake Daddy.
Why?
He'll beat you.
Oh.
Let us know, folks at home, if you're watching this on YouTube or listening on your podcast device. Talk to us. What's your verdict on this one? Are you a long turn taker or a short turn taker? Where do you land on this? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Just keep it brief, please. We don't have a lot of time.
Okay.
You can email us, geeksontrial@gmail.com. Same place you can go if you got your own geeky case you want us to settle for you. We'll change your names to protect the innocent or guilty as it may be. We'll settle it whether it has to do with board games, video games, movies, music, any kind of geeky subculture. Email that to us, or you can use a handy-dandy form, which you'll find a link for in our episode description.
And please help us support the show and make the show keep going until the end of time by heading over to patreon.com/geeksontrial. That's where you can give us $5 a month and you gain early access to both our audio and video episodes. Plus, you gain access to the behind paywall only show that comes out twice a month, Geeks on Trial Sidebar. It's a great show. There's fun things we talk about, cool banter, and it's a chill show where we just vibe about things that the wheels tell us to do. And listen, if you don't want to pay us money, that sucks. Yeah, we want your money. But you can also do other free things. Keep watching, keep listening, hit the thumbs up, hit the bell, give us 5 stars and reviews. And yeah, that'll keep the show going. And when we're not keeping the show going, I don't know. Where can people find you on the web, Johnny Boy?
Hey, people. Thanks for watching. Check me out at my website, jonathanestes.com. It's my name with a .com after it. You can also find me at the Nintendo fan site, gonintendo.com. I've actually got a couple of articles that are going to be up this week, probably by the time you're listening to this. One is about the Nintendo Switch's holiday lineup, some games that I got to play that are coming out before the end of the year, and another one that I technically am not until a day after this episode comes out, I'm not supposed to say what I did. Even though it's not anything, it's not like a Switch 2 or anything, but it is technically embargoed until tomorrow. But I got to do something cool that's Nintendo related that you can read my impressions of over at gonintendo.com. Check it out. How about you, pal?
Oh, I don't have any fun stuff like that. I don't work for any fancy things. I eat snacks.
You could eat an exclusive snack.
No. You can head on over to youtube.com/the snack guy. That's where I post, review, and talk about all sorts of snacks, drinks, and other snack type foods. And ivanhan.com. I still have that URL till the end of the year. So check me out over there.
And then what?
I guess I might renew it. I don't know. It depends on how much money it is.
I'm going to review it over on my channel.
Review it? Okay, yeah. I'll review your site, you review my site, and we'll have
a good little exchange.
Grand old time. But hey, until next time, my name's Ivan Hahn.
Hey, I'm Jonathan Estes, and it's another one in the books. So get out there and spook it up.